On June 10, 1994, Jung Wenwu called the relevant department and said that the neighborhood committee had been harassing him recently and that his life was in danger. When the relevant personnel began to ask him why his life was in danger, he just said that he could not leave the house, and as for why he could not leave the house, he had no explanation. He just hoped that someone would stop the neighborhood committee because the neighborhood committee wanted to kick him out of the house. Everyone thought it was insignificant, so no one paid attention to him. He called again and said basically the same thing, so the relevant department finally decided to go and see what was going on. At first, the relevant personnel went to the local neighborhood committee to understand the relevant situation. The neighborhood committee informed them that this person had schizophrenia and built a wall at home every day. His family couldn't stand it anymore, so they hoped to send him to a mental hospital. Then the relevant department came to Jing's house. At this time, there were only Jung Wenwu and his son Jung Guangming in Jing's house. When the relevant personnel arrived at his yard, they were dumbfounded. The wall of his yard was nearly 2 meters higher than the walls of the surrounding neighbors. It was his son Jung Guangming who opened the door. His son said that the old man went on a long trip 3 years ago and fell ill when he came back. He spent all day building walls at home, making the house a mess. He always said that he had encountered something unclean and that a master had told him not to go out for 3 years, otherwise he would die. He always asked me to go out to buy bricks and cement, and then he would build the wall by himself in the middle of the night. When I asked him why, he said that there was a shadow circling outside and it would go into the house at night, and building the wall would block the shadow. Recently, we planned to let him go out to see a doctor, but he refused to do so, saying that there was only 1 month left before the 3-year deadline, and then he could avoid the disaster. However, his recent wall building affected the neighbors, so the neighborhood committee intervened. When the case officers came in, they were dumbfounded. The whole yard was built like a maze, with high walls all around, narrow and crisscrossed aisles. Without his son to lead the way, they had no idea how to get out. It took about 5 minutes to get to the house. Once I entered the house, it was pitch black and there were aisles inside. After turning around, I finally found Jung Wenwu in a dark corner. Relevant personnel inquired about his situation. He was very scared and said that he was doing business in Jiangxi 3 years ago and encountered something unclean. All other partners died, but he was the only one alive. An expert advised him not to go out for 3 years. Although he abided by the regulations, he could still hear someone calling his name outside the house every day, and there was a dark shadow outside the wall looking into the house. Later, the dark shadow entered the house, so he had to make a maze so that it could not find it. At that time, everyone thought that this man was indeed mentally ill. As a result, they worked together to tie him up and carry him out of the house. As soon as he came out, he found that Jung Wenwu was no longer breathing and his hair fell off when the wind blew. In about 10 minutes, Jung Wenwu's body shriveled and aged and became smaller. He was really dead.